Literature. Can literature change your life? It depends who you are and how you use literature. In my research project called the Essence of Knowledge Initiative, the second stage I called, the project title was, in that second phase, Knowledge as a Means of Social Change, Knowledge and Social Change. And I co-authored the paper in the sphere of social change, how knowledge can foster social transformation on an individual and collective level, affecting individual and collective consciousness. The paper was contributed from interdisciplinary perspectives, and I contributed from my own disciplinary lens and its literature. So I reflected on literary knowledge, how aesthetic experiences, reflecting experiences, reflections like existential reflections in literature can foster change, social change on a collective level, because society consists of individuals and individual consciousness is one unit in collective consciousness. Literature can change your life in many ways. First of all, self-awareness. Self-awareness, and these are ideas that I reflected on that paper, which is available on ResearchGate. It's a peer-reviewed publication, Knowledge as a Means of Social Change. And some of the ideas I'm presenting here, talking about them, and I'm trying to highlight literature as a mirror, and as Hovhannes Tumanyan, the poet of all Armenians, we call him, as he said, literature is the mirror of society, because literature, he said that way because literature truly reflects everything. It's like a diagnostic tool for what needs to be addressed, what needs to be changed, what needs to be reevaluated. And what refers to the first dimension I'd like to mention, self-awareness. Literature increases your self-awareness. For example, if you read Dostoevsky's works, Fyodor Dostoevsky is one of the greatest thinkers, one of the greatest thoughts in existential exploration, existential thinking. And his works can truly change your life, change your mind, because life changes begin from mind. Anything begins from the mind. And mind is the essence, the nature of your whole being. So, for example, Brothers Karamazov, if you have ever read that book, I think you could be quite impressed, because it's not an ordinary work, and you are not the same person before and after reading that novel written by Fyodor Dostoevsky. So your self-awareness dramatically increases after that. And it's an example about how literature can foster self-awareness. You start thinking about, reflecting about your own life, reflecting, like comparing yourself with the literary characters, their contradictory natures, etc. Literature can foster, for example, before moving to the next point, when it said Karamazovs are not blackguards. Karamazovs are not blackguards. They are philosophers. This thought helps us think, how can someone redefine oneself in a unique way, even if it's not true, because they are somewhat blackguard as well. Not on, for example, Dmitry Karamazov. Is he truly just a philosopher in his thinking? Not, but partially yes. Both yes and no. This contradictory nature in literature, it is something that helps you reflect on your own contradictory nature, yes and no's within the same personality. And as I said, literature also, if your self-awareness is at a higher level, it naturally brings to the next level, which is critical thinking. Your critical thinking abilities develop. You are reflecting on literary characters, their actions, what happens, like Inductive and deductive thinking develops through literary characters, their actions, their choices, their contradictions, and it leads to the development of your own thinking. Yeah, your analytical skills significantly develop, as well as your linguistic abilities and your speech, your way of thinking, speaking, and writing. When it comes to critical thinking, analytical reasoning, it also affects on your speech, your linguistic imagination, your linguistic capacities as well are being developed. So another educational benefit. So literature has philosophical, analytical, and aesthetic, educational benefits for your mind. Coming to the next level, it's a glorification of moral values. Literature is a way of glorifying moral values, moral choices. For example, Charlotte Bronte's famous work called Jane Eyre. What is it? It's not only about orphanage, about poverty, less opportunities, etc., but it's mostly about moral choices, existentially difficult decisions that Jane Eyre makes in favor of morality. So moral values are glorified through literature. Another important dimension that literature can truly make a change in individual and collective minds is based on its existential thinking, its ability to foster existential thinking. If you read, for example, examples are quite many, but I'm choosing just one for this episode, for this video. Robert Frost's poetry is philosophical poetry, and one of his works called The Road Not Taken, it is about life choices, how you choose, how you shape your daily and small and large scale choices, and whether you are going on an ordinary path or through a less traveled path, the road not taken, taking the road that hasn't been traveled by, and it's a kind of unique thing. So it fosters reflection about your own choices, about your own direction of life, about your own compass in life. This existential dimension is quite strong in literature, especially in existential literature. There are many other aspects, and hours of speaking wouldn't be enough to highlight all ways that literature can foster social change, that literature can highlight moral, ethical, aesthetic, and other dimensions, and changing societal perceptions, fostering values in societies and individuals. And one of the key aspects in literature is its aesthetic appreciation. So literary knowledge fosters the experience of, when I say literary knowledge, it means all the experiences that we get from literary characters and can practice in our own lives as accumulated experiences, transferred from literary characters to us, like not making the same mistakes as literary heroes, etc., like taking lessons from their moral choices, etc. It all is nothing more than fostering moral development, social development through literary lens, literary knowledge. And the point I wanted to highlight is aesthetic appreciation, because literature is highly figurative. Literature fosters figurative thinking. It's based on imagination, aesthetic experiences, and life is presented through beauty. Writer sometimes is described as the painter of words and creator of beauty. Whether you experience beauty or produce beauty, like if you are an artist, if you are a musician, you create beauty in your own ways, or if you are a writer, you create beauty through words. And if you are not an artist, you can just experience beauty and just can do it through arts, through the things you really like, because beauty doesn't only mean visible, or there are visible and non-visible beauty, and also there are tangible and intangible beauty, types of beauty. So beauty is a concept that is not bound to just sensory experiences. It is much more. And as Oscar Wilde said, beauty is the wonder of wonders. And that wonder of wonders may be found in literature. To sum up, literature fosters self-awareness, critical reasoning, and existential thinking. So, and besides existential thinking, it also fosters moral reasoning and aesthetic appreciation. You may share your thoughts in the comments, and also subscribe to my channel to follow future videos. Thank you for watching.